Will, you think either local team going to have interest here in Murakami?
So this, to me, is probably the most fascinating case in all of free agency. And just real quick about the Mets and the Yankees, we're talking about two teams that are probably going to be in on that corner infield market, so they should express some interest in him. But with this particular player, we're talking about a 25-year-old, 26 on opening day with prolific power. I mean, when I talk to scouts, they all gush over this power. They give him the highest grade possible. There's no denying it. The issue is a couple of his other parts of his game that are questionable, namely the defense. And so for the Mets and even the Yankees, that's a big concern when we're talking about a player who scouts label as below average at third base, probably going to be a first baseman. So I question how all in these teams should be on a guy like this who has that question mark. And also a part of his game is swing and miss. And that may not translate well. Sometimes with guys from the NPB, we project a little bit more swing and miss because that's such a contact environment in that league. So if you already have that as a concern, it's probably only going to go up. And again, though, I go back to the idea that this is a 25-year-old, 26-year-old, so maybe he improves those aspects. But for me, it's a hard sell to bring a guy in who has those question marks to this market. And particularly with the Mets, I feel like if you're going to go that route, why not already bring the guy who has that questionable defense, who plays first base, who you know pretty well in Pete Alonso, if you're going to go that route? So I think that they'll probably be in it to some extent. To what extent, I'm not too sure yet.
I tend to agree. I feel like it's not just a good fit, which is weird to say when you're talking about a guy who can hit 56 home runs in a season. Again, Will talked about the swing and miss stuff. That's going to be a problem. He's also struggled against higher velocities. And so the average velocity for the fastball in Major League Baseball is 94.4 miles per hour. So if that's going to be a problem for him, those strikeouts are definitely going to go up. You might not see those power numbers. David Stearns talked about run prevention. This is not a run prevention situation. So you're looking at locking down a guy probably for 6 years and then also plugging up that DH hole. So in the situation when you're talking about the Yankees, you already have Giancarlo Stanton there. And if you're talking about the Mets, you could have Pete Alonso in the DH or eventually Juan Soto in the DH. So do you really want to put this guy kind of as a barrier to that position?
Hannah, what do you think? Can the Mets roll the dice here on Murakami?
For all the reasons Laura and Will mentioned, I would also be pretty hesitant if I'm the Mets. That swing and miss on high velocity pitches and also on off-speed pitches. So he's sort of in the NPB, he's done his damage on not very fast fastballs. He's essentially crushed lower than 93-mile-an-hour fastballs, but in Major League Baseball, only 26% of pitchers average below 93 miles an hour. So most of what he's going to be seeing is in that range where he has a lot of swing and miss, or it's going to be the breaking ball stuff that he's also struggled against. And this feels like a case where he's obviously going to be looking for a long-term deal because he is so young, and he's a great player to give a long-term deal to because he is only going to be 26 on opening day. But the Mets are a win-now club. The Yankees are a win-now club. This is a great opportunity for a team that maybe has struggled to get a really exciting top-end free agent in Major League Baseball to bring someone in who could change the kind of complex of your offense for a decade. But the Mets aren't looking to do that. They're looking to win the World Series in 2026. And like Will mentioned, this just seems like a tough market to bring in a guy who looks like he's going to have a little bit of a steep learning curve just adjusting to the pitching in Major League Baseball.
Well, that would be my issue. The Mets need power. The Yankees, to me, I would take them out of this because he's the last thing that they need. Another power bat that's swing and miss, not a good defensive player. Yankees need to do different and better than that. The Mets, however, need power, specifically if they lose Pete Alonso. My problem is we don't even know if it's real power because coming over from Japan, how do we know that it's going to translate? That, to me, would be the biggest concern. It wouldn't even be the investment. And there are other things that come along with having a star from Japan would be exciting. And the fan base could get behind that, maybe make more money off of that. I just would be concerned about if you can't hit a fastball and it's a different velocity in the big leagues, that's a big concern for me. Hey, in related news, Pete Alonso, he can hit a fastball. He won his first Silver Slugger award yesterday. No surprise, coming off a big season with 38 homers, 126 ribbies, led the league with 41 doubles. Going to be tough to replace that bat if the Mets let him go. Let's rank them. Will, rank your most likely Mets opening day starting first baseman.
So I would really like this list to be just Alonso. I would feel a lot better for the Mets fans if that was the case. Unfortunately, I had to choose other options beyond Alonso. He would be my first one, and this is my ideal scenario there, is just bring him back. Secondly, I would put the McNeil-Vientos platoon. I don't love it, Sal. I know you're chomping at the bit to get on me there. I don't love it. And then I have Naylor third. Real quick on the second second one there. I've covered David Stearns in the past in Milwaukee, and one thing he did do that surprised me years ago was when he had Keston Hiura, a guy who came up as a prospect, was a good second baseman, not very good defensively, but a good hitting second baseman. He moved him over to first base and signed Colton Wong, and that really opened some eyes. So I don't put it past him to do something creative like that, and then maybe move Jeff McNeil to first base or play around with some other positions, other guys. I'm just throwing it out there as an option. My 1, 2, and 3 is Alonso for the Mets. I just feel like you're going to have a very, very hard, almost impossible time replacing that value that he brings offensively, even if you're saying to yourself, we're going to maybe do it with Naylor offensively and maybe improve the right side of the infield defensively with a better second baseman. I still think you have a hard time given what Alonso provides you offensively.
Yeah, I mean, I yelled at Martino yesterday because he brought up the same thing. Come on, McNeil, Vientos platoon. No Met fan is ever going to stand for that. Not this year, not now, not ever. I could justify Alonso, maybe, Laura. I know you and I are in agreement. We're all in agreement. We probably want Pete back here. But at least if they're going to make the case that he's not a good defensive player and Pete doesn't want a DH, he wants to go somewhere else, fair enough. You got to replace him. You have to figure out a way to replace them in that event. It can't be McNeil and Vientos platooning.
No, that's a huge amount of offense that you're losing. So if you're not going to spend that money on Alonso, maybe you have to throw that money on Cody Bellinger. Maybe you have to throw that money at Alex Bregman. But the fact of the matter is, this is a man who hit 38 home runs. He led the team in RBIs. You need to replace that offense. We talk about run prevention, run prevention, run prevention. You need to score runs too, and Pete Alonso does that.